Okay, thank you. So, welcome to anybody who's joining us on YouTube as well. And I'm sorry to those YouTube folks if these recordings seem a bit bitty because we kind of dip into discussion groups and out again. But hopefully some of this will be useful to you. So let me share my screen with you. I found this great picture of the elephants at the tea party, which are maybe not kind of the guests that you would ordinarily invite round to a picnic, but I just saw the picture and I thought it was really good. So there we go. You wouldn't want them crashing into your garden, would you? We're going to have a little look at this thing that we touched on Sunday. This guests and hosts thing, really. So I will read again the passage that we looked at from Luke 10, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about it, do some sharing as we did last week, and then spend a bit of time praying. So Luke 10, and of course, similar passage in Luke 9 as well, at the beginning of Luke 9, when Jesus sends out the 12, and in Luke 10, he sends out the 72, but very similar principles going on. So let me read these first 11 verses. After this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go. And he told them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. Go, I am sending you out like lambs among wolves. Do not take a purse or a bag or sandals, and do not greet anyone on the road. When you enter a house, first say, 'Peace to this house.' If someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. Stay there, eating and drinking whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. Do not move round from house to house. When you enter a town and are welcomed, eat what is offered to you. Heal those there who are ill and tell them, the kingdom of God has come near you. But when you enter a town and are not welcomed, go into its streets and say, even the dust of your town we wipe from our feet as a warning to you. And yet be sure of this, the kingdom of God has come near." The similar passage to this, a parallel might be of going into a home as a guest rather than a host. We might think of Peter and Cornelius actually in Acts chapter 10, where God was clearly at work stirring Cornelius's heart, stirrings of faith going on there. And Peter went into fairly alien territory there actually as the guest, not the host, a Jew in a Gentile home, and a culture difference there that Peter had to kind of jump. And there's all sorts of stuff going on in Peter's thinking on that occasion as well. But just thinking of this Luke 10 passage, just a reminder of last Sunday, we had a look at this and the idea of going out carrying something, carrying a piece, and as you go around different houses, somebody inviting you in, these sent ones inviting them in, even though physically they're actually quite needy, quite vulnerable in a sense because of the way they've been sent out and this lack of resources. And I touched on Sunday this whole idea of culture. We're very comfortable doing things the way we do them. But actually, it's a big world. It's a big world. And there are lots of different ways of doing life out there around the world. And we're starting to to see that in our own country as well. I've got a friend who's a minister in Leicester, and his congregation is so international. And when he does his pastoral stuff and visiting and all the rest of it, and he's working with the people of the city, he has to be open to so many ways of doing life and being aware of culturally how things might be done differently within homes of families from all sorts of places all over the world. And so there's this idea of us, we who know the good news, we who carry the good news, we who have encountered Jesus and have got this good news message that we want to share with the world, this salvation that's on offer to each and every human being, this thing that we carry. And sometimes, I suppose, we look back in church history and the church has been in a position of authority and huge influence in our nation in years gone by. But we're not in that place anymore. The nation, the world has become very secular, Europe particularly, the West. And our voice now is just one of many round the table. There's been a lot of observations through this whole COVID pandemic that the leaders in much of the social care have not been the churches. We've been involved, we've been doing our bits, but not necessarily leading it anymore. We're a contributor to something far bigger. We're a partner, a voice round the table. And we're having to learn how to be the guest rather than the host. And being a guest is a bit different. Guests come to a home or come to a meeting because they're invited by the host, or at least they stay there in that home or around that table because they're welcomed and invited in at that point. If we rely on just an invitation, if we wait for an invitation, we might not get one. And so there's all sorts of questions there about how we discover these people of peace out there who might be waiting, looking for this good news message that's to come to them. If we wait simply for invitations, we might not get there. There's a little bit of emphasis on taking some initiative somewhere in there. The guest is expected to follow the host's culture at their home in things like manners and the ways things are done in that home, taking your shoes off before you go in, all that kind of stuff. Suddenly, we're waiting for somebody else to give us a bit of a lead and a bit of an indication of how to behave when we're on their territory. The host decides the rules and the boundaries. Guests don't necessarily change things when they arrive, not from moment one, just because they have the answer. If we wade in there straight away, then the way of doing it might actually damage the chances of a message being heard. It was described to me recently that you might be a fantastic gardener, and I know that there's some of you out there that are, you're brilliant gardeners. I'm not. And yet I've got a garden, sort of, and it's coming together. And when there's a few more plants in it, I'll be quite proud of it and all the rest of it. And if you come and sit in my garden as a good gardener, you might immediately think to yourselves, well, he's got those plants in the shade and they should be in the sun, and he's let that rose bush go. It needs a good pruning. And if you, on first visit, got your secateurs out of your bag and stood up and went round my garden, chopping my roses back and sorting it all out on that first visit, I probably wouldn't be very pleased, even though you knew better than I did. It's that kind of thing, really. But guests may be invited to build a relationship from which at some point in the future, you might be invited to sort my garden out and put it right and tell me stuff that you know that I don't. So becoming a guest kind of changes the power dynamics. It means the guest gives up control, really. And so I think thinking of that passage from Luke 10 that I just read earlier and that we looked at on Sunday, I think it'd be good just to pause and just have a think around that passage and have a look at a couple of questions just to warm you up and get your juices flowing. But first three questions just around, why are these sent ones in that passage told to take nothing with them? No spare coat, no sandals, no bag, all those sorts of things. How might dependence on others have impacted on the journey and the mission? What are they thinking about this? What are they feeling about this, these sent ones? And might there be some challenges to us as church for the way we've historically gone out with our message and how we might tweak things and approach it perhaps differently, or at least consider it for the future? So there are three questions just to have a little look at first. Hopefully there'll be a deacon in a group that's got a copy of those questions with you, or if you just want to scribble them down on a bit of paper now. But why are the sent ones told to take nothing with them? How might dependence on others have impacted the journey and the mission? And might there be some challenges just in this thing about resources? Might there be some challenges here for a church today?